Hi, I wanted to come back to talk about artificial sweeteners because with a ketogenic diet, a lot of people are still using them. And just know that in some people, any kind of artificial sweetener you use will cause an insulin spike, which will cause weight gain. So it's something that you need to test for yourself. But there are some that are useful for a lot of people. There's a few that I've used and I've had a lot of success with. So again, it's something you need to test for yourself and figure it out. But I wanted to help you a little bit with what you might want to try to avoid and what you might want to try to incorporate. So one way to know if you should avoid them, if you use artificial sweeteners and you find that you're really hungry soon after, that might be causing your insulin to spike, which you don't want. So maybe avoid them. If you're not losing any weight with them at the pace that you want, you might want to try to take them out for maybe like a month just to see if anything changes. If you do start losing weight faster, maybe that is causing weight gain or weight stall, so try to take them out. And you also always want to make sure you're reading the labels of the artificial sweeteners you're using because a lot of them are mixed with junk ingredients that are not going to help you. So I'm going to help you figure out what to look for in a second. And just so you know, the sugars that you definitely don't want to use, those are labeled with OS, so like sucrose, fructose, glucose, dextrose, lactose, and maltose. You want to stay away from those because those are spiking your insulin and leading to weight gain. Some of the artificial sweeteners you may be using are, and I'm going to butcher some of these names, so don't laugh at me, but we have aspartame, ACE-K, which is a sulfane potassium, sucralose, saccharin, stevia, chicory root, and sugar alcohols. So stevia in the liquid form, most people don't have an issue with. You do want to use the liquid form, and I'll explain why in a second. But the liquid form does not increase blood sugar in most people and appears to improve insulin sensitivity in the pancreas, so that's good. Chicory root, that's what's used in Swerve. And it also is not associated with the rise in blood sugar in most people, but you do need to take your time with it because it can cause gastrointestinal issues with some people, like bloating, gas, diarrhea, things like that. So you want to take it slowly, and you can combine it with other things like stevia to make it taste good and also slow it down in your recipes. The sugar alcohols, which are maltitol, sorbitol, mannitol, xylitol, erythritol, and lactol, they are incompletely absorbed by the human intestine. And so this causes problems like side effects like I just talked about, gas, bloating, and diarrhea for some people. So if that's you, you probably don't want to use it or you want to use a lot less of it. The sweeteners, they affect different people differently, so it's something you need to test, but they can increase blood sugar and insulin in some people. And the worst offenders of this are the maltitol, sorbitol, and xylitol. They cause insulin response in about half that of normal sugar in some people. So you may want to either test it for yourself or just avoid them completely. I avoid them. So the safe artificial sweeteners that are not associated with weight gain or cholesterol changes are aspartame, stevia, and erythritol. I personally avoid aspartame because I find it gives me headaches. I don't know what other health effects it's having on me, so I avoid it. You might be able to get away with using it. All right, so the sweeteners that when I first started, I heard stevia is great, so I'm going to use stevia. And I found this, stevia in the raw, and I used it for a long time until I started learning more about them. And when you look at the ingredients, it lists maltodextrin as the first ingredient and then stevia leaf extract. So this could be mostly maltodextrin, which once you Google it, it shows you it spikes your insulin, which is leading to weight gain. It suppresses probiotic growth, which we need for a healthy gut, so that's not good. And it's also made from GMO, which I try to avoid, so I got rid of this, and I will be bringing this back to the store because yuck. So watch for that. Watch for maltodextrin on the label. It's mixed with a lot of stevia products, and try not to use that. So I know a lot of people are fans of Skinny Girl, which, don't get me wrong, I am a huge Housewife fan. I obviously write about it a lot. I watch it. But sorry, Bethany, you are using dextrose as the first ingredient. Dextrose is a sugar and it's made from corn. That is going to increase your body fat. So if you are using this to sweeten your food, you're trying to lose body fat, this is going to increase it. And it could also lead to bouts of hypoglycemia, which doesn't feel good. So I would avoid the Skinny Girl. I haven't researched all her products. I don't use them. I support her just by watching New York Housewives. That's enough for me. But so I would look for the dextrose because you don't want that. Another one is Splenda. A lot of people use Splenda, but you'll notice on the label, I don't know if you could read that, but I'll read it to you. It has dextrose, maltodextrin, which we just talked about those, and it also has sucralose. Sucralose, it can raise your blood sugar. It can lead to other things like headaches. I know I avoid everything with sucralose because I get headaches from it. So, it's up to you if you want to try it for yourself. I avoid it, but I would definitely avoid Splenda because of the dextrose and the maltodextrin. So I mentioned earlier that you want to use liquid stevia, and a big part of that is when you are using the powdered stuff, as with this one we saw that it has maltodextrin, so we definitely want to stay away from that. I also try the stevia extract. I think this is Trader Joe's, yeah. But when you look at the ingredients, it's stevia, but it also has lactose, which is the sugar in milk. So any kind of sugar like that has an opportunity to raise your blood sugar, which means it's not helping you lose weight. So you probably want to avoid that and instead go with something that's a liquid stevia. So I found this on Amazon, Better Stevia. Always look at the ingredients. So this is organic stevia and then organic alcohol. I don't find any issues with this. Some people do say it has a bitter aftertaste, and you can try to get rid of that if you combine sweeteners, so maybe combine that with a little bit of Swerve. I also use these liquid stevia drops. You could find them at like Trader Joe's, Sprouts, Amazon is where I get them. They have different flavors. This is dark chocolate. We have vanilla. So I'm using either the Sweet Leaf Sweet Drops or the Stevia Select. We have raspberry. I have a bunch of different flavors inside too that I use for different purposes. So I find using these, and you really have to test the amount you're using, because if you use too much, your food will taste bitter. So that means you probably want to use less. Or like I said before, you could also mix and match with Swerve. This is the erythritol that we talked about before. And so with erythritol, if you take too much too soon, it could cause you to get gassy or bloaty. You don't want that. So maybe try using half of what the recipe calls for this, and maybe half with the liquid stevia, and see how that does for you. But again, you want to test everything. So this is what I use when I'm baking things, but I do try to limit it, just because if we look at the back, it says erythritol. I don't know how to pronounce that word, but it's like oleosaccharides and natural flavors. And when you see natural flavors, you don't know what that means. They could be putting anything in there and calling it natural flavors. For like raspberry natural flavors, they take the anal glands of beavers. So we don't know what that means. So I try to limit this, but sometimes I do use it with baking. Another one is this Truvia. And again, this is just erythritol, stevia leaf extract, and natural flavors. So again, I don't know what the natural flavors is, so I avoid this one, and I just stick with the liquid drops. And then if you are looking for something to flavor your water with, a lot of those have bad artificial sweeteners that you want to avoid. So I tend to go with the Jigsaw. This again is the chicory root. It has some stevia, and it also has monk fruit extract, which may spike your insulin. So again, it's something you need to test for yourself. They have a few different flavors. Got this on Amazon. And this also gets you electrolytes, which we most likely need on a ketogenic diet. So test it out. Tastes really good. And those are all the sweeteners I have for you. If you have any questions, just let me know. And thank you for following me. If this was helpful for you, please share it. And thanks for following me. Eating fat is the new skinny.